Welcome to the Solo Grind, your weekly coffee break with a fellow solo entrepreneur who's right there in it with you. I am Teresa Schloop, the original caffeine creative, and this is where real business meets real life. No hype, just honest conversations about building a business on your own terms. We talk mindset, strategy, burnout, breakthroughs, and everything in between, because going solo doesn't mean doing it alone. Grab a cup of coffee, find your favorite spot, and let's talk about what it really takes to do this thing solo. Hello and welcome to the Solo Grind. Today's topic is one that I am pretty excited about and pretty passionate about. So before we begin, I thought I am just going to go ahead and introduce myself, because I have no doubt that I am likely to forget to do that later on. So I am Teresa Schloop, the original caffeine creative, a solo entrepreneur, branding and web designer, and this is my pet project. I love doing the solo grind and showing up here to have a conversation with other solo entrepreneurs, because having been a solo entrepreneur my entire entrepreneurial career, I often feel alone. I have felt like I had no one to turn to and that all the weight was on my shoulders. And honestly, that really isn't true. We are here together. We are in it together. And while I cannot make decisions for your business and take the load of that off, I can be the friendly voice that is like, you're not alone, my friend. It sucks sometimes. It's worth the suck. And honestly, together we will get through all of this. So now that you've had a chance to get to know me, or you just remembered who I am because you've been here before, welcome back. I want to dive into today's topic, which is all about when slow times look scary, because we have all been there. As a solo entrepreneur, you cannot avoid the slow times, and they can be incredibly scary. In fact, 1 year ago, today, this month, however we want to frame it, I was in one of those slow periods, and it was the scariest slow period that I have had in a long time. Business was slowing down. It was slower than it had been in years. And I really wasn't attracting the dream clients that I want to work with. There were some perfectly lovely people who reached out, but they were not the right fit for me. And I knew it wasn't going to be a good project. And having somebody that is the right fit is a big deal, because otherwise it just becomes a project of pain and misery when you don't see eye to eye. I also was starting to really not love my work. And I love being a web designer. I love coming up with beautiful brand essentials for my clients. I love working with other small business owners, solo entrepreneurs who are looking to make their mark in the world. And honestly, a year ago, I didn't really love the work I was doing. I was even exploring opportunities to go back into the workforce, maybe start a different business. So there were a lot of factors behind why I felt this way. Okay. First of all, I know I've talked about this in previous episodes, but I was pretending to be a business that I wasn't. Like, I was trying to be something that I really wasn't, and that honestly I didn't want to be. I wasn't being honest with myself on that, and I thought that I had to grow into an agency, that I had to be bigger. And so I was trying very hard to put myself into this agency model, and it just wasn't me, and it's not who I want to be. I want to stay solo. I love the work that I do, and I love the way that I've structured my business. Because of this idea that I had to grow bigger and become an agency, I was going in the wrong direction. Like I said, I love being solo, and trying to create that agency look and feel was not in alignment with staying solo, which is where I want to be. And finally, honestly, my mindset was not in a good place. I wasn't looking at my day to day as, wow, I love my life and I love the work that I do and I love my clients and I love everything else. I was starting to look at my day to day of crap, what do I have to do now? What next step do I have to do to build this agency? What new marketing techniques do I need to employ? Am I going to have to start hiring people now? I'm not really in a place where I want to hire people or can afford to hire people full time. So my mindset was really not in a good place. And honestly, it was an incredibly scary time for me. My paycheck was dwindling because, yes, I do give myself a paycheck. I know my numbers and I am very strategic about how every dollar comes in is split up into different buckets to cover my expenses, including myself. We're going to talk about that later on this month with Megan Dolly. I also fell into this comparison trap. And I started looking at other people around me and like, well, they're succeeding, they're doing well. Look at how they're doing things. I am not as good as them. Really, it was an ugly, ugly trap. We've all been in that comparison trap. And I even started blaming other people for the position that I was in. And to be honest with you, I can't even remember who I blamed. I just know that I was not taking responsibility for where I was in my business, and I was trying to put the blame on other people. Now, when I start comparing myself to everyone else and trying to be someone else, or I start blaming other people, that is not a good sign. Okay, that is not me. That is not the person that I want to be. And that for me was a great big warning flag that things needed to change, things needed to shift, and I needed to do something quick. And again, that's why I was like, maybe this is the end. Maybe I need to find a new job. Maybe I need to go back into the traditional workforce or start a new business. I don't know. That's where my mindset was at. But here's what I wasn't seeing. I was not seeing the opportunity in front of me with this slow period where business wasn't coming in. I wasn't seeing that opportunity to realign with the real me. I wasn't seeing that I had an opportunity to step back, reflect, and take my time making decisions that were well informed, confident decisions about the direction that I wanted to take my business. I didn't realize that I had time to start working on creative projects that put me back in alignment with who I wanted to be, like this podcast. Okay. This is exactly when the podcast, The Solo Grind, was born, was through this process last year as I was shifting my mindset into the place that I want to be as a solo entrepreneur and away from what I thought I had to become. I also wasn't seeing that this slow time was giving me an opportunity to rest, recharge, relax, and reframe my business in a way that I wanted it to be. I needed to reclaim what Caffeine Creative was going to be, and I wasn't seeing that that is exactly what the slow time, this downtime, was giving me the opportunity to do so. Now, to see all of these opportunities in front of me, I had to shift my mindset. I had to shift from this idea of panic and what am I going to do and how am I going to make ends meet and how am I going to continue paying myself to possibilities. What can I do with this time in front of me? What can I take on that will improve my situation? What direction do I need to go to have the business that I really want to have and not the one somebody told me that I should have? So first, here's what that looks like for me. Now, all of us go through these moments where we've got to shift our mindset from panic to possibilities. I'm going to share what it looked like for me. First of all, I had to acknowledge that I was going in the wrong direction for me. Building an agency, building a bigger business, bringing in more people is a great model for a lot of people. I actually know people who follow this model and are living their dream life and they're doing incredible things. They are providing jobs to people who don't want to have their own business, but want to have more of that kind of relaxed entrepreneurial vibe. They are providing services to more people than they ever could before because they've built this agency and they're doing really great things. But it is not the path for me. And that is what I had to acknowledge and I had to remember. That is not where I wanted to go. I also had to get really clear on what I wanted my business to be, like exactly what I wanted it to be. How did I want to show up in the world? How did I want to present myself? What did I want it to look like? Who did I want to work with? Like all of these things that we did early on in our business when we do our client avatars and all these things. I had to get reacquaint myself with all of that so that I could get clear on who I wanted to be as the caffeine creative. And here's the blessing in disguise. I could not have done all of that. I could not have stepped back and really refocused my attention on what I wanted my business to be and how I wanted to show up in the world if time wasn't on my side. So while I was in panic mode, I thought that I had come to the end and that I was going to have to close my doors eventually. When I stepped into possibilities, I began to see the opportunity to reframe my business in a new way, to really focus in on the solo entrepreneur that I want to be, and to be a voice for other solo entrepreneurs through this podcast, The Solo Grind. Here's something I want you guys to remember or acknowledge. Slow times happen for everybody. The difference between those who succeed and those who struggle is how you handle the downtime. So let's take a look at what both look like. So the struggle, here's the struggle. First of all, the struggle is focused on lack, focus on what's not happening, what's not coming in, what's not going on, what's not working. It's all focused on lack. This is where the blaming, complaining, and all of that start to come in. We begin giving fear free reign of our lives, and we start channeling our energy into the wrong things. We spend time in Facebook groups complaining about how things aren't working and blaming this is the economy or blaming something. We find something to blame. And then when we're not in those groups, we begin doing this crazy busy work that really doesn't move the needle forward. And we've all done this, like excessively tweaking our websites or excessively creating Canva templates that we're probably never ever going to use. It's this constant work that doesn't move the needle forward that is part of the struggle. And that's what it looks like. Now, for those who succeed through these downtimes, these slow times, those who come out having a really better positive outlook on everything, they see the slow time as breathing room, not a warning. They find gratitude in it and they use that time to channel their energy into positive ways. Rather than spending hours on a Facebook group complaining about how economy is messing up our business, they are reaching out to previous customers just to check in and see how things are going. Rather than excessively creating Canva templates and stuff like that, they are taking a serious look at their website, making tweaks and changes, and working ahead on other things like blog posts or their social media marketing for the next month. They're batch working so that they can get things done so that in the busy times, they have less to worry about and less that they have to focus on. They take that opportunity to train or learn a new skill or to enhance an area of their business that they've been wanting to enhance and just haven't had the time to do so. And most importantly, they're not blaming and complaining. They're finding gratitude in the downtime. And they know that it's just a season and that it's going to pass. Now, I have been in both camps. Hands down, I know that. Last year, before I rechanneled my energy into who I want to be as a business owner, I was on the struggle bus and I had a lot of things going on in my brain. Like I said earlier, I don't remember who I blamed, but I know I complained a lot and I know I was blaming others for the state of my business. Okay. Thankfully, I realized quickly that that is not where I wanted to be. And I shifted myself over to the success camp to where I began focusing my energy on what I wanted to create and how I wanted to get through this. Here's what I learned from that. Like I said, I've been in both camps, but deciding which camp you're going to be in all comes down to one very important thing, and that is the choice that you make each and every morning when you get out of bed. Are you going to choose to struggle, to fight, to be in panic mode, or are you going to choose to be happy? Are you going to choose to look at the good? Are you going to choose gratitude? Are you going to choose to channel your energy into something that actually moves the needle forward and benefits your business in the future as well as today? For me personally, and I try very hard to choose happy. That's why I knew last year I was at a bad place because I wasn't making that choice very frequently. But it is one of my core values to each and every day choose to be happy, because happy people don't blame and complain. Happy people don't throw up their hands and say, well, I gave it a try and I guess I'm going to have to go find a real job. Happy people don't look for reasons as to why they're failing. Happy people look at the successes that they've created. They look at the small wins that they know are going to lead to big wins. They channel their energy into something that moves forward. And that is what I choose to be. And that is what I hope you, my friend, are going to choose to be. So before we wrap things up today, I do want to acknowledge something, that slow periods absolutely can be a red flag. For me, last year, that really slow period I had, it was a red flag, and I needed to acknowledge it so that I could move forward in the direction that I wanted to go. So, how do you know? Is it a red flag or is it a slow period? If you are new to this entrepreneurial thing or you haven't experienced a lot of slow periods yet, it's kind of hard to know where you're at when it starts happening the first time. And it's a little bit scary. So I thought I would give you some signs to look for to help you understand if you are in a healthy, normal, expected slow period or if it's a red flag warning. Okay. So how do you know the difference? First, let's take a look at the healthy column, okay? When you're in a healthy slow period, you've got some new good leads. Maybe not that many. It may only be one or two, but they're good and they're exactly who you want to work with, okay? You also have some good activity going on around you, opportunities to collaborate, good social media engagement, something going on that just feels positive and good. Okay, that's what the healthy column looks like. Let's take a look at the red flag warnings. Red flag warning number one is there is a significant decline in interest. Okay, you're bringing in poor leads or no leads, and things just aren't going in the right direction. Okay. Poor leads are the people who, again, may be perfectly lovely people, but just not the people you want to serve. And red flag number two is intuition. It's plain and simple your intuition. You know deep down in your gut something's off. Something doesn't feel right. Something doesn't feel good. So, how do we recognize the difference between healthy and red flags? First of all, take a deep breath. To quote my good friend Nancy, let's start with a deep breath because a deep breath brings a lot of clarity into the moment, and it's something that we all need. Then I encourage you to take an honest look around you. Do you enjoy going to work each day or are you dreading it? Okay, dread, red flag. Enjoy, you're still in a healthy space. Do you love the clients that you're attracting, the new leads that are coming in? Are you excited for an opportunity to work with them? Or are you taking them for the paycheck? Or are you wanting to avoid the client that maybe you took when you knew you shouldn't? Okay. That definitely falls in that red flag column. Are you excited for what you have coming up ahead of you? Or do you feel like it is painful to build? So, a good example, and I'm going to use me again because this is where I was a year ago, is as I looked ahead at building this agency, I did not look ahead with excitement. It drained me. And that in itself should have told me it was not the direction that I wanted to go. But I felt like I had to go there. There was no excitement. When I shifted back to saying, you know what? Nope, I am a solo entrepreneur. I am your business bestie, and I am here to just take care of the people that I can in the best possible way that I can. When I shifted back to that, I had nothing but excitement when I looked ahead at building my business, when I looked ahead at building this podcast and adding to my blog and doing my marketing. It was exciting and it was fun, and I loved what I was doing. You've got to trust your intuition and ask yourself this final question. Has the spark died in what I'm doing? This goes back to that excitement. If there's no spark in what you're creating at all, even a glimmer of a spark of what's to come when the slow season ends, then you're probably in the wrong camp. And it's time to readdress the direction you want your business to be and how you want to show up in the world. It's okay to reimagine things. It's okay to pivot and say, nope, that wasn't the direction for me. And it's absolutely okay to have a slow season. In fact, as you grow your business, there will be times when you look forward to a slow season. And I guarantee you'll be missing those days when things get really busy. So finally, to wrap things up, I just want to leave you with a couple things to remember. Quiet seasons do not define your worth. They don't mean that you're a failure, and they don't mean that business is doing terribly. It's a quiet season. These slow seasons are gems that can really empower your business in the future. They can help you get ahead of things so that when things pick back up and you're busy, you don't have to be working so hard to stay on top of everything. And finally, I want you to remember that you started this business, this journey to build a business to support the life that you want, not to be run by it. So make sure that whatever you're putting out there in the world, whatever you're focusing in on in your business, is supporting the life that you want to live and not following some arbitrary rules that just don't feel good. All right, my friend, that is it for this week's episode of The Solo Grind. I look forward to connecting with you, each and every one of you, next week. And if you have any questions, please always reach out. Text me, email me, hop on my calendar if you're interested in branding and web design, and let's have a conversation one-on-one. Thanks for tuning in to The Solo Grind. I hope this episode brought you some inspiration and encouragement. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe, rate, and review the podcast, and feel free to share it with a friend. For more tips and insights, visit caffeinecreative.io to check out my blog or explore the Solo Grind Central, my free resource library. Find me on Facebook or Instagram, and I'd love to hear how this episode has helped you.